What's up, fellow internet denizens? Today, I'm going to talk about some more of my lukewarm takes because I've been holding them in for a while and it's time to air them out. Let's do this. I firmly believe that the more expensive a wine is, the less delicious it is. The best wines I've had are $10 stuff that I either got at the grocery store or picked up from the liquor store in my college town once. The more expensive stuff I've had, those taste like sour dirt. Oh, that's actually just the robust, earthy flavor you can only get from Napa. Shut up! Studies show that wine tasting is junk science. The prices are just there to make people feel fancy, and the only reason they keep drinking and enjoying them is the sunken cost fallacy. Any fancy tastes they experience are placebo. Maybe I'm out of my depth here, though. I'm more of a liquor guy after all. Much as I hate capitalism and glad as I am that radio and TV are dying, I miss obnoxious local ads. You know the ones I'm talking about. Sit and Sleep, Toyota of Orange, whatever monster truck rally was coming to the OC Fairgrounds this Sunday only! That sort of thing. Those things had charm. Think of the last ad you got on Spotify or YouTube. Do you remember a jingle or perhaps a funny mascot? Of course not. The last ad I got was some boring AI narration over a sketchy-looking nightstick. We need more local ads with charm. Whatever happened to keys, 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 keys on Van Nuys? If we're getting bombarded with ads 24/7, I'd much rather have a YouTube ad with some local guy screaming about how he's dying because his deals are so good, rather than a poorly recorded Christmas song over some AI-generated puppies. Now, I feel like this next point goes without saying, but autistic people and ADHDers are not a threat to national integrity, and the government should not dig into private medical info to prove that we are a threat. Also, autistic people have existed forever. Ask your aunt who knows so much about boxing stats from the 90s, or the local guy who made a scale model of the USS Iowa and will talk for hours on how accurate the turrets are. Same with ADHD. Read about people like Virginia Woolf, Louis Zamperini, and Jules Verne. My point here is neurodivergent people have always existed, much to RFK Jr.'s chagrin. Instead of calling us a problem, he would do well to actually get to know some of us personally. Speaking of neurodivergent, there should be soothing zones at amusement parks where autistic people like myself can chill between rides, or maybe like quiet spots to learn stuff. I love roller coasters, but I hate the other sensory clutter at parks. I'm sure a lot of other people like me are in the exact same boat. I firmly believe that Disneyland would be a lot better if you had quiet zones with mist spray where you can learn about how animatronics work. You know what's one of the worst sensory clutters for me though? Contemporary Christian music. I mean, all the junk where you're saying worthy a million times or saying how much you love Jesus without saying why. I want to know why you love Jesus. I want songs where you actively struggle and you find him as you're fighting. Bands like Anne Boleyn, Under Oath, Switchfoot, they get it. Other acceptable Christian music includes, but is not limited to, Christmas music, Soldier Poet King by the Oh Hellos, and Stick Stickly by Attack Attack. Also, Skillet doesn't count. They only have 2 songs anyway, fight me. Speaking of music, Randy Newman sounds like he's trapped in a perpetual yawn. I firmly believe that the Toy Story soundtrack would have been better with someone else singing. Toy Story's still a good movie, but I just don't like it when someone sounds sleepy because it makes me sleepy. Another artist that sounds like they're yawning perpetually is Sleep Token. Same with Stone Jesus and George Ezra. Why do so many people in my life listen to yawn music? I also don't understand Jimmy Buffett's appeal. He feels too accessible, but at the same time he feels targeted towards one demographic. His songs also have this layer of cheese to them that I already don't like. I do think the Jurassic World bit with him was hilarious though. I do not believe bedbugs have a right to exist. At this point, they have evolved to go hand in hand with humans and only humans. They do nothing for us, yet they drink from us. We should eradicate them forever. Besides, I've heard horrible things about people using them for pranks, warfare, and outright torture. If we remove bedbugs from the equation, the world would be so much of a better place. I still have nightmares about them 4 years after I left a bad apartment infested with them. I think our first priority after eliminating screwworm and disease-carrying mosquitoes should be bedbugs. Alright, this next section will be opinions that are largely unrelated to each other and should probably go without saying, so buckle up. It's perfectly acceptable to dip your Oreos in apple cider. There is one person I knew in college who got viscerally upset when I did this in front of him, and I have no idea why. Florida man, if you're watching this, I'm not sorry. German people are probably the best people to encounter at a national park. Every so often when my family would camp, we would find a group of them, and my dad would ask them where the best trails were. They were always so polite and cleaned up after themselves when they left. Germans, you guys are awesome. If your local donut shop is run by Southeast Asians, they invariably make the best apple fritters in a 50-mile radius. This rule applies to every corner of America that I have been to. Conversely, Dunkin' Donuts sucks, Krispy Kreme's glaze always tastes stale, and Randy's is mid. Fight me. If a website or a book has generative AI art, automatic loss of credibility in my eyes. For all I know, you not only use stolen art, but you also use ChatGPT to rate your product, and it's probably full of lies. Sooner or later, my more pessimistic side says that someone's going to be using generative AI to form a cult on a bigger scale than the Zizians. We need to nip this in the bud before some new L. Ron Hubbard crops up. Cabbage Patch dolls are ugly and I do not understand why people love them so much. It looked like if somebody punched a baby in the face right after the cord was cut. Generational differences should not matter as much as the media makes them seem like they matter. They were invented by people in power to divide us. Why are there so many articles about millennials and Gen Z destroying restaurants and theaters? Because corpos won't admit that they jacked up the economy so hard that no one can afford restaurants or theaters anymore. The practice where businesses post jobs on sites solely for tax benefits and respond to all inquiries with a "sorry, we're full" message. That should be illegal. Also, corporations should not be legally considered people. For some reason, they are in America, and if we don't nip this in the bud, we're going to see one run for president within the next century. In Pokemon Platinum, you get to make this treat where you have to whisk it slow enough that it doesn't spill, and yet fast enough that it doesn't burn. I fully believe that Pokemon taught me how to make a good roux without it burning. I have made 3 roux by the time I make this video, and none of them have burnt, despite all the warnings from cooking sites and relatives. And Mom said Pokemon wouldn't teach me anything. You know all those 80s themed parties your neighborhood, school, and church threw, and you never really understood why? Well, we're probably going to be doing the same for our kids, but with 2000s, 2010 stuff like Emo Night or something, because in the end, we're all gonna be just as pathetic and nostalgic as the boomers that raised us. And that's not a bad thing! Again, generational differences are stupid anyway. Those strawberry candies your grandma always had in a neat little glass bowl are the best, and you cannot tell me otherwise. This last one is for any cats in the audience. If I dangle my arm off the bed when I sleep, that's not an invitation for you to flay me alive. You're an adorable little muffin and you deserve all the cuddles, but don't attack my dangling limbs. Do you guys have any lukewarm takes? Are there any Skillet, Sleep Token, or Jimmy Buffett fans who want to meet me behind Waffle House and talk it out? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Alien Daydreamer and I am out. Bye!